What's the deal with the new fusion? Is it good? Is it bad? Is it worth your time? We're going to go over all of that and much, much more here today, so let's get it. What up, team? It's MurderInc here, back with the Raid Shadow Legends video, talking about the brand new fusion that has just been announced. Not just been, but recently. Oella, okay? So we have a Sylvan Watcher. Hey, bingo, right? Not so fast. Support, legendary champion, of course. Magic affinity. There's a lot to talk about here. Like I said, is this going to be worth pursuing for you? Depending on where you are. If you're early game, traditional fusions are harder to go after resource-wise, so you really have to make a strong decision because it's likely you will have to spend money. We just had so many very, very strong champions come out on a fusion that were 100% worth going after, so you're probably not sitting pretty as far as having a stockpile of resources. But if you are further into the game and you've played this for quite some time, you might be considering going after a legendary like this. So let's go over the first thing, which is going to be, it's a Sylvan Watcher. So before going over the kit, I want to come to my account really quickly and let's talk about Sylvan Watchers. We all know the faction wars are going to come out 6 months from whenever the faction released. I don't know when that was, but I'm assuming the time's coming. I wouldn't say soonish. I don't think it's been even close to 6 months, but the time's coming for sure. So as a player, you have to ask yourself, is it worth pushing for this fusion just for faction wars alone? Forget everything else for now. We don't even know the kit, but it is a legendary. My honest opinion, no. It's never worth doing that, even if this was a crazy faction war specific champion. The odds that other champions aren't going to be released before then is very, very small. Not just that, if that was the only case, then I'd probably say it's a safe bet to go for this champion. If you're worried about faction wars, we have the Mushroom Man, who's going to be incredible. You could have gotten up to 4 of them. I recommended getting 2 if you weren't going for more again. I personally have 2. I'm ready for faction wars. He's ready to rock and roll, so I'm kind of set. I also got lucky and pulled Dudan. If you have a Dudan and 2 of the Orn as I recommended, you are sitting pretty. I did recently pull, within the last week, King Galkabar, and he should be interesting for sure. He has a lot going for him as far as dealing damage and being supportive to the team, obviously with the support role here, so I'm sitting pretty here and I have no intention of this legendary fusion unless it's crazy, but I haven't looked at it. So we're going to look at it together and see what the kit brings to the table. So let's review this for the first time. Don't forget, if you enjoy this content, it helps me out a lot if you subscribe, so definitely consider doing that. The first A1 is going to be Flutter Fluster. Try saying that 5 times fast. Attacks one enemy has an 80% chance of placing a 30% decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. The debuff cannot be resisted if Ultan of the Shell is on the same team. Okay, first thing I have to talk about, I do not like this. If you're going to release a fusion with the partner, you need to tell players what the partner is going to be. Now, I was invited to this test server session and I'm 99% sure this guy's in it, but I haven't looked at it, I haven't been on, so it's kind of irrelevant if I know about it, even though I can't talk about it. So players just don't know, right? They don't know. So this guy can change a lot. So keep that in mind. I just see that there's a passive bonus with this guy. Is he legendary? That would kind of devalue this a lot. If he's not a legendary, and he's an epic champion, the odds of getting him will be easier. And if he's really good and there's good synergy that we're going to go over here in a second, I mean, irresistible, decreased speed, even if it is 100% chance, it's a single target ability. So I'm not too impressed by the A1 partner bonus so far. But like I said, if Ultan of the Shell has some crazy synergy with this fusion, these are things we need to know as players if we're going to make an informed decision about pursuing this legendary. The next thing we have is Hand of the Spring. We have a 4-turn baseline cooldown, reduced to 3 turns if you do put 4 books into it. Really quick book check here. We have 4, 7, 10 books total. Not the worst for sure, but Again, one thing that sticks out straight to me is heals all allies by 30% of their max HP. I've gone over this 1,000 times on healing champions. Heals aren't that good unless it's based on the champion that's healing them's max HP, right? Healing a squishy champion, Rhonda, for example. If Rhonda has 21,000 health, who cares about a 30% heal? But if I can stack HP on a fusion like this and get 30% of her health onto everybody, now we're talking. Why they didn't do that, I'm not sure. The second part of this skill is going to be increase the duration of all ally buffs by 1 turn. It's good. It's good. I mean, epics do it, but it's good because it's paired with a heal, even though it's not a very strong heal. Next, we have the A3 Morphosis. This is a 6-turn cooldown, reduced 3 times with 3 books, going to a 3-turn cooldown. So this is strong, but they're really bookkeeping. They really are. 3 cooldowns and 1 ability. You hate to see it, you really do, because it devalues the champion no matter how you look at it. So it fills the turn meter of all allies by 30%, strong. No doubt about it, that is strong. Also places a 50% increased resistance on all allies for 2 turns. Niche use, right? Resistance teams are good. They're not as common, but they are good. Cannot deny that. And also I can see from the bottom, the aura here increases ally resistance in dungeons by 75. It's a pretty strong aura for dungeons for sure. Is this a good dungeon champion? Kind of a weak heal. Increasing the duration of ally buffs is okay. Increase res turn meter, okay. Let's talk about the passive Untrammeled. Whenever an ally loses 15% or more of their max HP from a single hit, this is where their max HP makes sense, by the way, places a 15% continuous heal buff on the ally for 1 turn, places a 15% continuous heal buff for 2 turns on the ally, and then instantly activates it if Ultin of the Shell is on the same team, can only occur once to an ally per turn. So this isn't very strong on its own, but this partner bonus is definitely pretty strong. So instantly activating continuous heal is the same thing as instant heals, right? I mean, obviously. So having that here instead of having to wait a turn, I mean, how many times, listen, you guys know this, I've seen it happen to my account. Champion has continuous heal on and they die before they get a turn. It's the most frustrating thing in the world. But this is kind of a cool partner bonus, because now we have double continuous heal being placed if Ultin of the Shell is on the same team, and it's being instantly activated once that ally loses 15% or more of their max HP from a single hit. Now, here's the thing, can only occur once to an ally per turn. So hopefully, they've done weird things before. This should be common sense, but hopefully this is once per ally champion, not per ally on your team. If this can only proc on 1 character and not the other 3, 4, or 5 in whatever content you're doing, this is really bad. Also, one thing, and I have to look at the wording here, because I've seen weird stuff we all have for fusions, from a single hit. If this means that an AoE cannot proc this is not good news. If they mean that if 2 hits total up to 15%, then it won't proc, fine, who cares? But if they mean single target hit instead of just a singular, listen, like I said, it should be common sense, but we've all seen some really strange things here. So let's talk about the first point that I went over initially here, faction wars. How strong can this be? This champion by herself for faction wars, iffy. Iffy at best. Yes, she fills the turn meter of all allies, but if you've ever watched a faction war video that I've done, what's the key to beating any faction wars? Having 200 speed. You don't need turn meter boosters, you don't need increased speed, you just need 200 speed on your champions, proper buffs, proper debuffs, proper survivability, and you will complete any faction war in the game. So that devalues filling the turn meter quite significantly for a faction war specific purpose. The next thing is increased resistance. We don't know the type of faction crypt that's going to be coming out for the Sylvan Watchers, therefore we don't know the final boss of the Sylvan Watchers. So how good increased resistance is going to be dependent on what that final boss is. if the spells the boss casts are even resistible. If they're not, another useless thing. So we just don't know. So it's really hard to say. As of right now, I mean, I'm definitely going to pass on this. I would think, in my personal opinion, that this is going to be a very wide opinion of people that they're going to skip this champion. Now, the aesthetic, if you're into that kind of stuff, and I always talk about this stuff because the raid champions are great, it's going to look really good. So if you're going after champions that look really good, just go for it. Now, people say if there's a fusion, you should go for it no matter what. I disagree with that. I really do. I have my reasons for it. You look at all the resources it requires, and just spending it to say, what if they buffer? I don't know. For me personally, I'll never go for a champion that I don't think is beneficial for my account just in case they buffer. I would rather suffer down the line for not having fuse the champion than have a vault full, like many people who have this mentality do, of legendaries that they fuse saying, what if they buff this champion? You're still waiting. I'm still waiting on a few of them from 2 years ago. It is what it is. They do not have a very good track record of buffing fusions. If you've noticed that, I'm sure many people have by now. Most of their reworks that come out do not include fusion champions unless they are like crazily underwhelming. And this is the big one, if their marketing metrics say a lot of players have this champion. If they don't have the champion, they're not going to be inclined to buff them because it affects too small of a pool of players. It is what it is. It's how companies work. So overall, I don't think this is a great champion, but Ultimate of the Shell is pretty much going to determine the fate of this fusion. How good is she going to be on her own? Like I said, not worth going after, but if there's some crazy synergy from this other champion that we don't know about, it's very possible this is going to be very worthwhile. Now, we're going to know about this champion during the fusion, while the fusion is active, so that's going to be the best spot if you're still on the fence about fusing this champion, because I definitely don't want to miss an opportunity to get a powerful duo in this game. You shouldn't either. So while this champion is underwhelming overall, it's way too early to be jumping to any conclusions here because we just don't have enough information. So with that being said, that's going to wrap up this video on my thoughts on the fusion, going over it for the first time. Overall, not the worst fusion I've ever seen, definitely nowhere near the best, so it is what it is. Give me your feedback. Where would you use this champion? Are you going to go for it? Or are you going to do what I recommended and kind of just wait things out here? As always, guys, if you enjoyed this content, smash that like button. Subscribe helps me out a ton for channel growth, and I will see you all in my next upload.